Hi everyone! Welcome to Art at Home with Allie. I'm at home in my art studio, and I'm guessing you're at home too. You don't need an art studio to make art. You can make art anywhere. And today I'm excited to show you how to work with modeling clay. When you do this lesson, you're going to need some type of table or surface to work on. I find it works better to work directly on a table. If I work on paper, it tends to stick, and it cleans up really easily with soap and water. It's not a messy clay. So what I like about art is that there's no right or wrong way to do art. Art can be anything, and we're all different people with different imaginations, so we don't all create the same thing. I'm going to show you some simple techniques, and then the rest will be up to you and your imaginations. I'm going to start off this tutorial for everyone with some basics, and then there'll be two parts. One part will be working two-dimensionally, maybe for younger students, and then the second part will be working 3D to make something that's more sculptural, that can stand up. You can watch the whole thing or just skip to the part you want to watch, but I have a lot to show you, and I'm really excited to get started. So, today we're going to be working with modeling clay. And I know this month's theme is light, and there's lots of things you can do with working with actual light in art. But today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to talk about working with the light within you. Now you might be thinking, what's that mean? That sounds kind of strange. It's actually really simple. What I mean is when you're expressing yourself and using your own imagination, you're letting your own light shine. Who you are. So I'll just write that. When you are expressing yourself and using your, my favorite word, imagination. We all have one. You are letting your own light shine. Letting your light shine. That means who you are, your personality. So let's find some ways and some techniques so you can let your creative light shine. First thing you can do is open up your pack of modeling clay. And this thing, you can have an adult help you, or if you're older, I'm sure you can do this yourself. There, I've got them all out of the packet. Now, you could just start breaking them apart. If you want, you can cut them apart with a scissors, or an adult can cut them apart with a little knife, but they're actually really soft. So the first thing I'm going to do is just talk about modeling clay. Modeling clay is not the type of clay that comes from the earth. Modeling clay is a man-made clay. It has oil in it, and that stops it from ever drying out. This clay won't harden. The thing I like about it though is it's going to keep its form, which is different than working with Play-Doh. Eventually when Play-Doh gets dry, what happens to it? Yeah, it cracks and crumbles. This, if you make something out of this, you could come back a year or two later and it would look the same. Unless you put it in heat, like in the summer, if you put it in a hot window, it would melt. Heat will melt it, but otherwise it's not going to change form. Here's just a little example of it's supposed to be like a little dragon sculpture that I made. I made it, and then I realized I might have been kind of inspired from the box without realizing it. The box has some really fun creatures on it. Okay, so this clay you can find all over. The dollar store, Hobby Lobby, Walmart, Joann's Fabric, Target, Michael's. modeling clay. There's other types of clay like air dry clay. It dries in the air and hardens, and you can usually paint it. Earthenware clay that has to be fired in a kiln, which is a special oven for clay. And polymer clay, which looks a lot like modeling clay, but is made to go in the oven. It's a type of plastic, has a type of plastic in it, and that will harden. So you want to make sure if you want to get this clay that is called modeling clay. So you can see while I've been talking, I've been softening it up. And that's the first thing I'd like you to practice, is just softening it up by kneading it with your fingers. I just tell people to pinch it. You can see I'm pinching it, and then I'm going to roll it in a ball. I bet a lot of you have rolled a ball with clay or Play-Doh before. And I practice, see how my hands are making a circle shape? That's what you're going to do. I think it works the best to do it with your hands rather than the table. I'm just going to roll it in a circle shape to make a ball. If I go all crazy, my clay isn't going to know which way to go. I want to make it into a ball. So there's the ball. I could even make something out of that right away. You don't have to, but now that I have it there, I was thinking that looks like a little apple. So I'm gonna just roll a little piece between my fingers like that. And we're gonna actually practice making that. That's called a coil. We're gonna do that in a second. And I just took a piece of clay and I'm just pressing it flat. We're gonna practice doing that. And I'm pinching it with my fingers. I'm making a little leaf for it. The leaf might be a little big. Whoop. So there's my little apple. I'm going to come back to that in a second. I'm just going to set that aside. So there, you made a ball. Who knows the three-dimensional word for a ball? If you said sphere, you're right. So how about I make a coil? And I bet all of you have made a coil. Actually, these kind of look like they're already in coils, right? But we're going to make our own coil. And I'm going to, every time you work with the clay, you have to soften it up, which a lot of people, when I work with students, don't really want to take the time to do that, but you're going to have a better result. Now, if you're young, your parent might help you soften the clay. And if, for those parents that are watching, for anybody that's really young, you could do some of the same techniques, but using Play-Doh. Because for very young students, modeling clay is just a little bit harder. But once it's softened up, it's actually pretty easy. It's getting it soft, that's the challenge. So I'm going to roll it in a ball again. And now I'm going to roll it back and forth. How many of you ever rolled clay or Play-Doh back and forth to make a snake or a worm? I bet all of you have. That's what we all do when we start playing with Play-Doh and clay. So this is called a coil. We are going to use coils today in both parts. So you've made a ball and a coil. If you want, you can play around with your coil. You can coil it up. Maybe you're going to make a spiral, or maybe you could turn it into a letter. Like maybe I'm going to break a little piece apart. And what letter do you think I'm making? Oh, right now it's a V. And then I could make what? The letter A for art or alley. But I'm going to change it up again. This is what I love about clay, is that you can just change it so quickly. And I'm going to make a teeny little snake. I'm going to pinch its mouth. And let's see, we'll give it a red tongue, and I can make a little coil. And I'll hold this up close in a second. You need some eyes, right? So I need a teeny little piece of white. You know how to make a ball. This snake is made out of things we just reviewed. Pretty simple. There's one little eye. And I'll have to put an eyeball. These are pretty big eyes. It might look like a Sesame Street character. That's okay. Those are funny. Now I'll use a little piece of black. Look at, I'm making this, take the smallest little piece. I'm not even going to use all of that. Can you even see how much I'm using? The smallest little scrap of clay. And I'll put it on the eye. Whoop. There's another small scrap. I'm going to get a toothpick. I bet you'll find a toothpick in your house. One eye's going one way and the other eye's going the other way. If that happens, oh, I can just take that eyeball off. But first, I'm going to put some little nostrils there. If you can see that, I'm making marks with the toothpick. I'm going to put the eye back on the other way, and I'm just going to try again. So like I said, that's what I like about clay. Unlike drawing, if it didn't work, you don't have to erase it. You just smush it back up and start over. There we go. That's my little art snake. Okay. It almost, you know what, everyone? I could cut the snake apart and make it come out of the apple. It almost looks like the worm coming out of the apple. And finally, one more really basic clay vocabulary word and technique that you're going to need to know is slab. For those of you that play Minecraft, I bet you have heard the word slab before. A slab is a flattened, smooth surface of something. It could be a slab of stone, a slab of wood, a slab of cement. We're going to make a slab of clay. And we're going to do it with our fingers first. There's lots of ways to make a slab. First, I'm going to soften the clay. I always roll it in a ball first. And then I'm going to pinch it. I'm going to go around and pinch it like I'm making a little pizza or a cookie. Oh, I could make this a little cookie. I could also turn it this way and fill it up with stuff and make it a taco. Oh, that would be fun. Now, slabs can be used for lots of different things. You can use tools to make bigger slabs. Like if you have Play-Doh tools or clay tools, you could, like rollers, you could use those. If you don't have a clay roller, guess what? If you have a marker or a glue stick, you can use one of those. I'll just do that so you can see. See how easily I can roll this? And then I'm going to show you a couple things you can do with a slab. If you have any cookie cutters or shape cutters at your house, you can cut shapes out of the slabs. So this is the part one. Now I'm moving on to working two-dimensionally. And even if you are older, some of this might still give you some ideas. So if you've rolled it too thin, it's not going to come off. If you keep rolling it and rolling it, you'll find out what happens, that it just won't come off. And then you just have to take it off of there and do it over. And this is your clay. So if you want to mix colors to make new colors, you sure could. If you keep mixing them, they're eventually going to turn into a new color. So I'm trying to make a light orange or yellow orange. See how I'm just kind of smushing them together? Maybe I kind of want the yellow to show. That's really kind of fun. So I'm going to start a slab and then I'm going to roll one. Another way you can make a shape, well actually two other ways. You could find items around your house. Like this is just a little cap from a juice, and you could push those down if you don't have a shape cutter or cookie cutter. You can also take a toothpick, or if you don't have a toothpick, you could use a pencil and you could kind of draw around it. I'll do with the toothpick too. And that's another way to cut a shape out. Oh, that's pretty. So, whoopsie, I'm going to make something with this. And here it is. I'm going to actually use, it's a box. I save things. Instead of throwing things away, sometimes I use them. Can you guess what food came in this box that I cut up? Yep, taco shells. So I'm going to use this as to put my little picture on. And I'm going to make, oh, I could make lots of things. I could make a bunch of these. They're kind of like a teardrop or raindrop shape, and I could make a flower. I could make it part of a bird, like put an eye there and make a line and make a beak. It could be a bird's head. It could be the body of an animal. I'm going to make it a fish. And I think I'm going to make a triangle shape back here. I don't have a triangle cutter, so another way to do this is I can just take a toothpick and draw out a shape. You probably could cut it with a scissors too if it's flat enough. There's my fin for my fish. I could draw lines on here for texture for the fins. And now I can add some details. I kind of like this piece. Now I bought some clay cutters at Hobby Lobby. This one looks like it's not sharp, but it looks like a pizza cutter. So there's another fin. Now I can put some details on my fish. Oh, maybe before I do that, I'm going to put some little stripes on it. I can use the yellow coils, right? See, we're using coils and slabs to do these pictures. They are clay, I call them clay pictures. I can flatten that a little bit. And if it is too big, I'll show you what I'm going to do here. Because right now it's a little big, right? I'm not going to worry. I'm just going to take the toothpick. I think the toothpick is one of the most used tools besides your own hand. Here, put that over top of it, draw some lines on. And now I'm going to put the eye on. Little piece of white. Flatten the white, the ball of white. Put a little teeny dot for the eye. Ooh, I've got an idea. Maybe I want to make the mouth open. Look at this. I can take clay out. There's my two-dimensional, which means it's flat. It only has length and height. It's a flat, two-dimensional thing like a piece of paper, but it's a clay picture. And I mean, I could keep going with this. I could have even colored the background blue or put it on a blue piece of paper. There's so many possibilities. I'm going to add two more little details just for fun, and then I'm going to move on to making something three-dimensional. Can you guess what I'm making with the green coil? If you said seaweed, you're right. Here's a little trick. I'm going to coil this. I'm going to see if this works. Coiling it around the toothpick, and then I'm going to gently take it out to make it look twisted. And look at how it's going on top of the fish. I could put different heights of seaweed. I could put an ocean floor. If I had a bigger picture, I could make a shark or an octopus. I could make little shells. Oh, there's so many things. A fish hook. I could just do so much with the ocean theme. But maybe you want to make people, or maybe you want to make your name or letters. Maybe you just want to make a design. It could be as simple as like, cutting out a star shape and putting a little face on it. It doesn't have to be a whole picture. But I'm going to stop there with this one. And I want to just mention a couple extensions you could do, especially for the parents that are watching this. So this is the Making a Clay Picture. If you want a great book to read, I'm going to zoom out so you could see this. This book's called Over in the Ocean in a Coral Reef. And it's by Marianne Berkes, illustrated by Jeanette Canyon. And the illustrator actually makes all her pictures out of clay. She makes them out of polymer clay, which is similar to modeling clay, except it hardens. But I mean, it's amazing. Let me find a picture here. Okay, the dolphin one's pretty fun. So you can see she uses all those coils and little balls of clay, and then she creates the animals formed. And then what she does is take a photo and it's printed out in the book. I think there's even a picture in the back of her working in her clay studio. And there's some of her clay tools. And she actually, an important part of her art is she goes and does research. She gets to go scuba diving to do research. At least for this book she did. So I just thought that was a fun connection. An artist, a clay artist, who actually is an illustrator, who makes pictures out of clay. Another fun idea, so this is a book that I bought. It's called Art Play by Meredith Maggie Donnelly. And there was a clay project in here. Here it is, clay selfie. So it says what color clay matches your skin, what colors are your eyes, and then is your hair straight or curly, short, long. Make your face shape with clay on the board, add your eyes, nose, mouth, and ears, add your hair and shirt. Basically what we were just doing with the fish. It's a flat clay picture. So those are some fun ideas for you. Also, one last thing, it is so fun to play with clay. It's kind of like Play-Doh, right? You could do this with Play-Doh, but if you have things around your house that encourage play, like this is a plastic ice cream cone from like a play food set. However, it is really fun to use Play-Doh or clay and fill things like this up, or even play with the play kitchen and make pretend food with the modeling clay. Make a hamburger, make some little pieces of cake. I'm probably not going to fill up this whole ice cream cone, but if I made a really big coil, you can, maybe I'll just actually do this. Hold on. All right, there we go. I'd probably put some more clay or Play-Doh in here if I was working with it, but because it will take a lot. But you can just see, even this is pretty fun. Oh, we could pretend that's a cherry on the top, right, of the ice cream cone. I could put little pieces of clay on for sprinkles, and then of course when I'm done, guess what? I can just take it apart and make something else with it. So think what you have around your house. Oh, I guess I do have one last thing. Sorry. Speaking of that, I forgot I was going to mention. Let's say you have a young child. Maybe you're really young and you want to make something that's not flat. An easy way to start is starting with that ball of clay. You can stick things into it. Oh, here's some pipe cleaners. Maybe those are the ears. So you could use, oh, they're not pipe cleaners. I mean paper clips. But you could use pipe cleaners, drinking straws, a stick from outside. Maybe I'm going to make a little bunny's face. Oh, look at, these might be too big, but maybe it's a bunny with funny eyes. That's cute. There's the eyes. I'll hold this up in a second. There's the nose. And maybe you take some toothpicks and you make some little whiskers. And I could break apart another toothpick, right? I could put a little coil on for the mouth, or I could just draw it on with a toothpick. I think I'll put a coil on so we can actually see it. It needs more whiskers than that. But that will give you a really good idea of things you can do with modeling clay, especially for younger children. Up next, I'm going to show some more advanced techniques on making sculptural forms. All right, well, I'm ready to start showing you how to build three-dimensionally. In order to do that, we need to learn how to make more 3D shapes. You already know how to make the sphere. What is a 3D square called? Who knows? If you said cube, you are right. I'm going to soften this brown up and I'm going to use it to make some 3D shapes, and then I'm actually going to use it to make an animal. I'm going to make a little dog or bear, I'm not sure. Get it soft. Again, take the time to soften it. Roll it in a ball. You'll need a ball first for this. And then, if you can see this, I'm going to press down on every side. I'm not going to jab my finger in, I'm just going to lightly press. And the table is actually going to flatten the sides of the sphere and turn it into a cube. Maybe you're going to make something like a house, or maybe some dice. It looks like a little dice, doesn't it? Or maybe you need it to make, to build up, to make some type of structure that's made of cubes. But you can see there's the cube shape. You can also form it with your hands like this. Maybe it would be a great robot head, right? So that's the cube. How about a three-dimensional rectangle? What's that called? If you said rectangular prism, you are right. And there's a couple strategies to make the rectangular prism. I find it's easiest just to take the cube and pinch it so it becomes a rectangle, and then I'm using more of my finger to do the same thing I just did to make the cube. I'm flattening it like this. Now, maybe you're going to make a sculpture. Again, maybe if you are making a robot, this would make a great body. Maybe you're going to use more and make like a little skyscraper or buildings. This rectangular prism could be used for lots of different things. Another way is, like, let's say you make a coil, a thick coil, kind of like the shape that the clay came in, right? Except this is not softened yet. This looks like a Tootsie Roll. And I'm going to press down with my finger the same way I just did, turning it into the rectangular prism. So those are some different ways to make the rectangular prism. Next, I'm going to make a cylinder. I'm going to roll it back in a ball. And I know you're probably thinking these are pretty much cylinders. A coil it can be a cylinder. But here is an easy way to make it. I'm going to roll it back and forth just a few times. Press down on the top and bottom to flatten them. Looks like I made a little can. And there's my cylinder. The cylinder is really going to help you if you're making an animal that stands up. It could also work if you're making like an animal that would be its body. It also works great for people. Like this could be like the body of the person. So it stands, and of course the more you roll it, the thinner it will get. If you roll something too thin, it basically just becomes that coil again, and this stands up. But if you imagine when it has weight on it and more things, it's not going to stand. So that's why I would recommend, and I'll show you, you can put toothpicks inside things to keep them stable, or you might just have to use more clay. All right, one last shape, and then we're going to make something. Start with that kind of coil or cylinder shape again. Now, we know when we roll something, it gets smaller. So what shape do you think it's going to become if I roll just half of it? Just the tip of it's going to get smaller. What shape? Maybe you can guess while I'm doing this and see if you're right. I'm pressing down. I'm going to roll it a little bit more. Just my hand is at an angle. If you can see that, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. My hand is at an angle like this, and I'm being very gentle. I am putting pressure on it, but I'm being gentle. Now I have a cone shape. Works great for beaks. I could cut it off and make a bird beak. Maybe you're making something that has horns, or maybe a little hat. Almost looks like a head of like a swan or something. You can do so much with clay. All right, let's make a dog. So I'm going to start with a cylinder shape for the body. And then what shape should I use for the head? Okay, how about a sphere or a ball? And I'm working small because I see this is all the brown I have. I could, you know, dogs are so many different colors. I could, you know, actually make it kind of speckly. Sometimes if you take colors and twist them, look what happens if I twist it. Oh, that's fun. I don't want my dog to look striped like that, but maybe you're going to make a candy cane or something. That's kind of fun. Maybe it won't be a dog. I don't know. We'll see what it is. So there's the body. Is that hard to see? That's like a cylinder shape. And take the head. And now I can also take this ball shape and pinch it so it's not just a ball, right? So it kind of goes out where the nose might be. So your hands are also an important tool. And then I'm going to break off a toothpick, and I don't need a lot, but this is the support structure in your sculpture. It is called an armature. Sculptures, like especially big public art sculptures, have armatures inside. This is the support system that we don't see, kind of like the bones in our body. I am thinking of a giant sculpture in New York that it's made of copper, but inside it has I believe it's a wooden armature. Anybody know what I'm thinking of? If you said Statue of Liberty, you're right. That's what I am thinking of. The Statue of Liberty has an armature holding it up. If you're interested in that, you can look it up and see what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm going to quickly make the ears and then the little face and the legs. So I'm going to get some more of this speckled clay. And I'm going to put the ears on. That's one ear. I'll put the other ear on. I could have put ears that are sticking up straight too, but I'm going to do this. And I will move the camera when I'm all done so you can see it more looking on the side. Right now I know you're looking at it up and down. Actually, maybe I'll do that right now so you can see it better. Oh, that's actually better. Now you can see this. So now all that's left is I have to do the face, but I'm also going to do the little legs. And maybe just for the sake of time, I'm just going to put, I don't know if I'm going to put all 4 legs on. I'm making some little cylinders. And sometimes, here's a tip, when I have to make things approximately the same size, I just put little balls of clay out. I'm just going to make 2, but they're about the same size. And then I make cylinders out of them. I don't even have enough brown to make all of it. So I'm making small cylinders, right? I'm just using one finger to roll back and forth. A coil or a cylinder. But you can see those pieces stand up. I could even pinch it like this to make a little paw. I can put some detail on with my toothpick for the paw. Same thing with this one. I'm going to pinch it. I'm just bending it basically and putting some little marks on there, and I'm gently holding it. There's the paws. Now I have to put small pieces of toothpicks in, right? I don't want to smush it. And I don't want them to be so big that they press out of the dog's body. So sometimes cutting a toothpick works. I find it's easier to break it, but if you need help, ask an adult, because toothpicks are pretty sharp. You don't want to get jabbed by one. If you take the clay apart, take the toothpicks out. There, now there's the little legs. And then, looking for another toothpick. Well, here I can use this. You could use a clay tool or just a toothpick to blend the part where the clay connects together to make sure it's not going to pull apart. Especially if you use earth clay, you have to do this or it will pull apart when it gets fired in a kiln. Modeling clay isn't going to ever harden, but it's still, pieces will fall off if they're not attached. The ears are small enough, I don't have to do that. There. And while I have it up here, I'm going to use this tool. You could use a knife or anything that can slice through it. There's, oh, its little ear got twisted. There's its mouth. Whoop. It looks like it's growling. There's its mouth. Now I can just put on the eyes and the nose. I like seeing the face come on what I make, because then the sculpture kind of comes to life, has more of a personality. I could also take the toothpick and rub it all over here to make the texture of the dog's fur, if it's like shaggy or really furry. I could make a little bone for it, a water dish. I could put a collar on. Maybe I make a whole bunch of little dogs or cats and accessories to go with them. I'm not going to be showing it in this video, but if you're really into clay, I would look up online how to do claymation. It's actually really easy. You can do it with a smartphone, and you could do it on the computer, or you can get claymation apps. That's where you take many pictures by moving the clay slowly, and you move it, take a picture, move it, take a picture. And you can move the clay around because it's soft to make it look like the animal is doing, or thing is doing different things. And then when you play it really fast, it makes the illusion that it's actually animated. Well, I haven't done the back legs, but you know what? This kind of works well because now it looks like it's sitting. Except I would have to put legs right here because I would still see the legs. But I am going to make one last little bit here, and that is the coil. Or I'm sorry, the cone, and I'm going to use it for its tail. So there's you see the dog's tail sticking out there? Nope. There we go. There's the tail, and I think that's all. I think that you should have lots of ideas by now how to work with clay, and I can't wait for you to get started. I think you're really going to enjoy working with modeling clay. It does make your hands kind of sticky and oily. I would just let them be like that until you're done, and then wash them off with lots of soap and water, and that's good. All right, thanks for watching.